Hey guys, Sam from WebContempo here, and I am going to show you something that I do all the time, and that is transferring a WordPress site from a cPanel server to a new GoDaddy economy hosting cPanel server. Now, this is the newer GoDaddy Linux hosting, so if you're getting a regular hosting account on GoDaddy for WordPress site, this is probably what you're going to be getting. It uses cPanel, which luckily is the easiest thing to transfer WordPress, and I'm starting on my own cPanel server, so that also makes it even easier. So this is probably one of the easier WordPress transfers to do, and we're just going to do it in a couple quick steps. It really only takes a couple minutes to do. Check over, make sure everything is perfect, and you're good to go. So we're going to start by downloading all the files off of our original server. Then we are going to archive everything on their current server on GoDaddy and then create a new database. Then we're going to delete everything off of their server except for the archive we made, upload the new files that we just downloaded from our server, and then connect everything up. Then once that's done, there's a few steps we do at the very end, a few plugins we add, and a couple other things we do just to make sure that the site is ready for production, and that only takes a couple minutes and is all free plugins as well. So I'm going to show you the whole process, and we're going to get started right now. Alright guys, thanks for sticking with me. So this is the new site. We've built this on our development server and we are ready to flip this into production. I'm going to show you, we've got it right now on my cPanel server, which is our dev server, and we're going to be moving it to a GoDaddy server with cPanel as well. So again, this is one of the easier ones to do and it should only take a couple minutes. So this is what the new site looks like, and this is their old site we're going to be replacing. This is also a WordPress site, and it's the only thing they have on their server right now, which is going to make this even easier. So, first thing we need to do, I'm in my cPanel here, and we need to go in and find the files for this site. So if you go back here, you can see the URL is on a subdomain. We just need to find this subdomain in our cPanel account. So if we go into File Manager, then we just got to look for Rubicon New in the folder structure. You'll see I have hundreds of these in here because we do a ton of dev projects. You probably won't have as many. Okay, so here's all the files. It's super easy to archive this. All we need to do is select all and compress, and we'll make a zip archive and name it Rubicon. Compress the files. This can take anywhere from a few seconds to a couple minutes depending on how large the site is. Alright, there we go. Now we can go ahead and download these files. And while we're doing that, let's open up the WP config file, and that will tell us the name of the database. So the database name is imdnet_rubicon_db. So with that information, we're going to go back into phpMyAdmin. This is where all of our databases are, and we just need to find that particular database. Okay, so we're in. Now we're going to go down this list and find it. It's under R. These are alphabetical. So let's see. imdnet_rubicon_db is the one. Let's just go back here to double check. imd_rubicon_db. Yep. Okay, so we will make sure we click on it. So we see the high-level page for the database containing all the tables, and we're going to click the Export tab. You don't want to be on an individual table here because then you're only going to export that table. So this way we're exporting all the tables. So all we need to do is click the Go button here, and it is going to generate a SQL file for us and download it. So that's all we really need to do on our server right now. Now I'm going to leave this open, and I'm going to show you why in a little bit. But we are ready to hop over to their GoDaddy account now for step number 2. Okay, so I'm in their GoDaddy account, and what we're going to do is go into the File Manager. This is pretty much the same as what we had in ours. So this is, like I said, they only have a WP install in here, so that makes it really easy. A lot of times when you're replacing an old site with a new one, that can have all kinds of crazy stuff in there. That makes it so you have to be a little bit more careful in how you're doing this, but as long as you archive the whole thing first, you're not going to have one of those moments where, all of a sudden you realize something important got deleted, because you're going to have it all archived no matter what. So we're going to compress everything in the folder. This is their old site, and we're going to call this, let's see, backup 12/17. So we know that we made this in December 17th. Okay, so we got our backup completed, and we don't need to download this one. Oh, I actually misspelled it too, wouldn't you know it? And then again, I think since they only have the one install, we probably don't need to worry about anything with the database. So then the next thing we're going to do is create a new database to import our database that we just downloaded. So if we go here to MySQL Database Wizard, this makes it super easy to create a new database. And I'm going to, let's see, we'll call this Rubicon New. Or we'll call it Rubicon 1217 actually. So we have an idea what date we did this on. And then here we go. We will also do the username the same as the database name. You don't have to do that, but I usually do. And then for the password, I'll use the password generator and then click create user. I'm just going to pause it for a second so I don't give away any sensitive information. Okay, so then on the following page, they'll ask you to add user to the database. We'll go ahead and add all privileges, and then I usually copy this information as well as the password and paste it into a note file just so I have all this stuff so I can easily refer back to it. So I'm just going to pause this one more time so I can. Okay, and once we've got that all copied, we will click next step, and we should be good to go on the database. Then we will actually open up my PHP MyAdmin on the new server, and hopefully our database should be in there, because on cPanel this works super fast. On like the old GoDaddy hosting, this sometimes is a lag time in getting the new database, but not with this. Oops. So we're going to click on the new database and then click import, and then we're going to import our file that we just downloaded. Okay, and most likely this is going to finish successfully. Then we're going to click on the WP options table. Okay, this is where we're going to want to change our dev URL into the new URL that we're going to be using on the site. So I'm going to go over to their site and copy the URL. You can't see this right now because it's getting cut off, but we'll just paste it right in here. This is their URL they're currently using. I usually don't like the trailing slash on the end, but actually it usually doesn't matter. Now we've already got our files in cPanel, in the new cPanel archive, so this is kind of the scary part, but we're just going to go ahead and select all except for the new backup we just made and delete all these files. Okay, so then if we go back and reload their site, it should be empty. Yep. Okay, so now, and if you want, actually what you can do is upload the new files first, and that will save you a little bit of downtime, although most likely it's probably not going to matter most of the time. So we'll just wait a second here for these to upload. Okay, so we've got all of our files updated and we should be good to go now, so we can just close right off that window. Then if we reload here, yep, there's the new files right there. So all we need to do is highlight this and click extract, and we want to extract it right into this folder. And then we should have everything we need right here. So then we'll just open up the WP config file. If you're moving from cPanel to cPanel, you don't need to change anything except the database name, username, and password. Unless if you had like some caching stuff in there, but usually on dev sites we don't do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and change the database name, username, and password with the ones that we just created a minute ago. So I'm going to pause that, and then after we're done, I'm just going to click Save Changes, and we should be good. So let me pause quick. So we've got the correct database name, username, and password in there, and this is where you want to just say a little prayer and refresh your page, and hopefully you will come up with this, which is the correct site showing on the correct URL. First thing you're going to want to do is try to click into a subpage. Sometimes if these don't work, that means you need to reset the permalinks. If they do, then you don't need to do anything else. So we know we're good on that. Now, that is going to be the end of step 2. We've got the site transferred over. Now we just need to do some cleaning up stuff to make sure that everything is all set and there's not going to be any issues going forward. So that means we're going to have to log into the back end. And I will check back in with you as soon as I get logged back in. Okay, so now we're in the back end. First thing I can see is that WordPress needs to update, so we're just going to go ahead and update WordPress and any plugins that need to get updated right now so that they're starting off on the right track. That should only take a minute here. All right, we've got WordPress updated. I can see that there's 2 plugins that need to get updated, so we're just going to go ahead and do that as well. We'll just update those right now. Oh, I'm going to have to actually put in a pro license key before we can do that one, but that's no big deal. So we'll just get contact form updated here. Okay, now the next thing that we're going to need to do is make sure that there's no URLs in the site pointing back to the dev server. So we're going to get one of my favorite and most used plugins, Better Search and Replace, and install that. Now this can seem scary, but if you do it right away when you first add the site, you really don't run any risk because you've already got all your backups and everything here. So if you do this incorrectly, you can always just redo it. So once you got Better Search and Replace installed, you're going to click over to Tools and go to Better Search and Replace. So we're going to search for the old URL, replace it with the new one. So to do that, we're going to go back to our dev server, which I still got open, and I'm going to copy the dev URL and paste it in here. And I removed the trailing slash and the HTTP just in case if there's any HTTPSs or wwws in here, then it's not going to get those. It's just going to get what we need and replace it. So we're going to hit that and replace it with, I can just copy the new URL right out of here. Paste that there. Again, remove the trailing slash and the HTTP. We're going to select every table. There's actually only a few tables in here that need to be checked, but we're just going to do them all anyway. And then I do check replace GUIDs. This has actually come up sometimes, and I uncheck run as a dry run and run the search and replace. And if we do this correctly, you should see that there were some changes there, as you can see. So first thing we'll do is go back to the front end of the site. That was the dev site, so we actually want to make sure we're looking on the live site, which is this. I'm going to clear my cache, and then I'm going to refresh the page and make sure all the images are working still, and they seem like they are, which is a good sign. Yep, we can see they're all in here, so that's good. If you have a site that has like a gallery or something, you might want to double check that, because every once in a while gallery plugins, I've noticed there's a few of them that don't get hit with the Better Search and Replace, so you just want to make sure you double check that. So it looks like everything is good here. Now here's the last kind of scary thing that we need to do. We need to go back over to our dev server and delete this site out of our cPanel. And so this is back our old cPanel where we copied the site from. If we delete everything in here, then this should wipe our dev server. So I'll refresh here, and it's a blank page. And if we did the search and replace correctly, this site should still be working perfectly, regardless of the fact that we deleted, because that sometimes you can have images and backgrounds and stuff pointing back to the dev server. And before, when I used to be lazy about this process, not necessarily delete the dev server right away or do the search and replace, then I would have like 3 months later, all of a sudden I might just delete the dev server, and then a whole bunch of backgrounds in the site would go down. So I learned pretty quickly just to take care of this right away, so you don't have any bad moments with that later on when you are not even thinking about this project anymore. So it looks like everything is okay here, and we've got this moved off of our dev site. Now when I'm done with this video, I'm also going to go in and delete the SQL database as well, just to keep some space on our server, but that's not that big of an issue. So we got that taken care of. The next one I like to do is install a caching plugin, which we'll just do fastest cache. And I like this one because I've done some other videos on it. It's super easy, it's free, and it gives you a pretty good effect without having to do much work and without running much risk of bricking your site. Some of the other caching plugins are a little bit more difficult to use, and generally speaking, for basic sites, you don't really need to worry about it. So we're just going to go ahead and check like all of these, except for, actually, we don't want this mobile one, and we'll just here clear. These are all fine actually, so we'll just click submit and we're good to go. So the cache should be on now, and that should help with the loading speed of the site. As you can see, it loads up pretty quick on mine, but I already had it partially cached, so don't count that. Last thing we need to do is I usually add a security plugin as well. This is gonna not help against, I know it comes up if I search this. It's actually called iTheme Security. I'm sure you probably heard of this before, and I've done some other videos on this, but this is going to help you against everything other than keeping your plugins up to date and using strong username and passwords. You're still going to have to do that, or you could get hacked, but other than that, it's going to help you with against a lot of other possible vulnerabilities, and it's really just a one-click kind of deal. So we've got that installed. Click Security, and click Secure Site here. Now I always make sure my email is not in here, because if I don't, as a matter of fact, this guy probably doesn't even want his in here either, so we'll just change this to mail and close that, just because nobody wants to get these kind of lockout notifications and stuff, and usually they don't mean anything. They're just when bots try to access the site and get locked out, then they get an email saying it, and then the client doesn't understand, so then they ask me about it, and we'll just eliminate that by taking that email address out of there, because we don't need those notifications. So last thing we'll do is enable system tweaks, configure settings, and I usually click on all of these. Save settings, and WordPress tweaks. We also do a little configuring here. We click on all of these. I actually uncheck disable file editor, because I like to use the file editor, and if you don't, then you can leave that checked. And the rest of these, I actually keep these because it makes it easier for the client to access the site. So we'll just click save, and we should be good to go. Now just one more time, I'm going to double check. I'm going to clear my cache and reload the site and make sure everything is loading up okay. You can see this actually still loads up pretty well, even with the clear cache, so that's good. Yeah, so it looks like everything is good. Just to recap, we downloaded the site off of our server, the site in the database. Then on the new server, we created a new database, uploaded or imported the database from the dev server. Then we archived their old site and deleted everything off the server except the archive, uploaded our new version of the site, and extracted that and connected it to the database. And then lastly, we just did some cleanup stuff like search, replace the URLs, add caching, and add security. And now we've got a complete site that is ready to go. So hopefully you learned something from this, and thanks for watching.